Polygons and Quadrilaterals test review. This is for my regular geometry. So GeoReg, test review. Okay, so for this, we're just going to kind of go in order. It goes in order with the unit. So the first question says, what is the sum of the measures of the interior angles of a 30-agon? The first three questions, you're going to have to use the same formula, which is the sum of the interior angles of a polygon formula, which is n times 2 or n minus 2 times 180. N is the number of sides. So I'm going to take 30 and I'm going to plug it in. So I'm doing 30 minus 2 multiplied by 180. 30 minus 2 is 28. 28 times 180 is 5,040 degrees. So all of the inside angles would make 5,040 degrees together. For number 2, you need to solve for x on this octagon. So you're going to use the same formula, n minus 2 multiplied by 180. This has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 sides. So I'm doing 8 minus 2 multiplied by 180. 8 minus 2 is 6. 6 times 180 gives me 1,080 degrees. So all of the inside added together needs to make a total of 1,080 degrees. So what I need to do is I need to combine all of my x's. So I'm going to start in order. I'm just going to start at the top and work around. I have 10 plus 9 plus 7 plus 9 plus 8. All of the x's added together in total makes 43x. You're going to do the same exact thing using a calculator with your numbers. Now, the catch is your numbers you need to be careful with only because some of them say minus. So I would start at like one of the numbers that's completely by itself. So 121. And then I'm going down. So I'm going to say minus 17 because it says a minus, plus 6, plus 153, minus 14 because it has a minus sign, plus 15, plus 139, minus 11. If I combine all the constants together, the numbers without a variable, you should get in a calculator 392. And then it's a two-step equation. So the opposite of plus is minus 392. So I have 43x equals 688. And then I divide by 43. So x equals 16. Because you're just solving for the value of x. Number 3, you're doing the same thing. We're going to use our formula. We have n minus 2 multiplied by 180. This time I have 5 sides. So I'm going to do 5 minus 2 multiplied by 180. 3 times 180 is 540 degrees. Now the difference is this one doesn't have angles in every single corner, but since it's a congruent sides, it's a regular pentagon. It has all congruent sides. That means all the angles are also the same thing. So I can either do one of two things. I could fill in every single corner to be 7x plus 31. 7x plus 31, and do exactly what I just did, combine all the x's, combine all the numbers, or I can do something a little bit simpler. Since I know they're all the same size, and I know that there's 5 of them, I could say 5 multiplied by 7x plus 31 equals 540. So either way, you will get the same answer. I think it's easier to multiply by 5 than it is to add up all the x's and add up all the numbers. So I'm going to distribute to get rid of my parentheses. 5 times 7 is 35x. 5 times 31 is positive 155. And I'm equaling it to 540. And then I'm minus 155. So I get 35x equals 385. And then I have to divide by 35 to both sides. So I'm kind of running into the next problem. So I'm going to write a little small. Divide by 35. So x equals 11. Okay, which takes us to number 4. Number 4 is also from the first section. This is exterior angles instead of interior. This is inside. This is inside. This says some of the interior angles. This is the outside. So the outside always, no matter the shape, always equals to 360 degrees on the outside, the exterior. But I'm going to use the same kind of thing that I just did. I'm going to start by combining all of my x's. So 4x, 6x, 9x, and 11x. If I add them all together, that makes 30x. If I take all the constants, the numbers, -5 plus 29 plus 61 plus 13 minus 15 and plus 67, you should get positive 150. And then I'm going to say equals 360 in the back. So two-step equation again. I'm going to minus 150 to both sides. And then I'm going to divide. So 30x equals 210. If I divide by 30 to both sides, x equals 7. For number 5, this is where you start getting into lesson 2 of the chapter. This is talking about different shapes. So lesson 2, 3, all the rest of the lessons were specific shapes. So it says find the value of x if k to u is 3x plus 3 and u to m is 4x minus 4. So in our parallelograms and our rectangles and squares and shapes like that, the diagonals are intersecting, making a bisector, an angle bisector. So these two lengths are congruent to each other. So if you have two congruent lengths, you're going to equal them to each other. So I could say 3x plus 3 equals 4x minus 4. A lot of people are going to move the 3. You could add 4 instead, so you don't have to work with negatives. But most people are probably going to minus the 3 because it's on the left side. So if I minus 3 to both sides, I get 3x equals 4x minus 7. Now I can move my x to the other side. I'm going to subtract 4x, subtract 4x. So I get -1x equals -7. I can't leave x negative, so I divide by -1. So x equals 7. No matter which way you do it, you should get 7 for your answer. Number 6 says that we need to find the measure of angle K. So find the measure of angle K if KLMN is a parallelogram. So KLMN is a parallelogram. I'm going to set these equal to each other because opposite sides of a parallelogram, opposite angles, are congruent to each other. So I know that these are also equal to each other. They're both obtuse angles. They're both opening very wide. So I do 8x plus 17 equals 12x minus 39. So once again, you could add 39 to both sides. Most people are going to move the 17. So I'm going to minus 17, minus 17. Now, the problem with this is where people make a mistake if you minus always from the left. It's because this 39 is not 39 minus 17. It is negative 39 minus 17. So I'm going to get a larger negative number. So I should get negative 56 when I use a calculator because it's negative 39 minus 17. Now I'm going to minus 12 to both sides. 8 minus 12 is -4x equals -56. And then I'm going to divide by -4 to both sides. The negatives end up canceling out because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So you should get 14. But I'm not done because I have to take it and I have to find the measure of angle K. So I need to plug it back into K. So I'm going to plug it back in right here. I'm doing 8. So the measure of angle K is equal to 8 times, because x is 14, plus 17. So I'm doing 8 times 14 plus 17. So the measure of angle K ends up being equal to 129 degrees. The next problem is a rhombus. So disregard, it says RSTU. I accidentally used the wrong letters. STUV is a rhombus. We have to find x. So with a rhombus specifically, this is creating an angle bisector. So these two angles are equal in angle measure. So it's an angle bisector, meaning they're congruent. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put an equal sign between them, and I'm going to solve for x. So I could say 9x minus 43 equals 5x plus 1. So I'm going to move my 43 to the other side. I'm going to add 43 to both sides. I have 9x equals 5x plus 44, and then I can minus 5x to both sides. So 9 minus 5 is 4x equals 44, then divide by 4 on both sides. So x equals 11. For number 8 says find the value of x if ABCD is a rhombus where A to D, this is not a degree. A lot of people are trying to add to make 180 or add to make 360. This is a length from A to D is 4x plus 2. The next thing that they tell me is DC is 7x minus 13. A rhombus is a square technically tilted on its side. So what we learned about rhombuses is that these two lengths, the sides, are technically all congruent to each other. Since all the sides are congruent to each other, I can put an equal sign between them and solve for x because they're equal in length. So I'm going to subtract 2 to both sides. I have 4x equals 7x, negative 13 minus 2. 13 minus 2, we're not putting 11, we're putting negative 15. Now I'm going to minus 7x to both sides. So I get negative 3x equals negative 15. And then I'm going to divide by negative 3 to both sides. So x equals 5. Moving on to the back. We have new shapes. We have a parallelogram, and we have rectangles, we have trapezoids, and we have kites. So on the back side, this first question says if B to E, so from here to here, is 7x minus 13, and E to D is 8x minus 19, find the measure of BE. So not only am I going to have to find x, I'm going to have to plug it back in. So these are a parallelogram. The lengths are equal to each other in distance on the diagonals. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set them equal to each other. I'm going to solve for x, but I have to plug it back in. So I'm doing 7x minus 13 equals 8x minus 19. So I'm going to add 13 to both sides. So 7x equals 8x minus, what's this, 6. And then I minus 8x to both sides. So I have x, negative 1x equals negative 6. And then I'm going to divide by negative 1. So x equals 6. So now I need to plug it back in. B to E, BE, the length of BE is equal to 7x minus 13. I'm going to take x and I'm going to plug it back in. So I'm doing 7 times 6 minus 13. So if I do 7 times 6, that's 42. Minus 13 is 29. So B to E is a length of 29. So it's an outside measure. Number 10 is a rectangle. It says if the measure of angle DEG, so right here, is 4x minus 5, and the measure of FGE from F to G to E, so this measure right here, we need to find x. These are alternate interior angles when we did parallel lines cut by a transversal. So what we know about these angles is that these are two congruent angles because they're opposite of the transversal. So I can take these two angles and I can equal them to each other. So I could say 4x minus 5 equals 6x minus 21. I'm going to add 5 to both sides. I have 4x equals 6x, 21 is negative. It has that minus sign. So make sure in a calculator you're doing 21, making it negative, and then you're adding 5 to it. So minus 16. Now I'm going to minus 6x to both sides. So negative 2x equals negative 16. Divide by negative 2. X equals 8. The next problem is where we get into our trapezoids. This one I told you to skip because it's accidentally the same as number 12. So go to number 12 because it's the same exact picture. So for number 12, I have to find the measure of angle G. So before I can find G, I have to find X. So what we talked about was in a trapezoid adds to make 360 in total. I don't know this and I don't know this. It's not an isosceles trapezoid, so they are not the same. This is not the same. But what I do know is that same side angles add to make a total of 180, because if the whole thing's 360, half of it's going to make 180. So I'm going to add these together to make 180. So 5x plus 26 plus 8x minus 2 equals 180. And then I'm going to have to combine like terms. So since they're on the same side together, notice my equal sign is now in the back of the equation. I have to start by combining like terms. So 5x and 8x come together to make 13x. And then I'm going to combine my numbers. 26 minus 2 makes 24, positive 24. Now it simplifies to a two-step equation. So I can minus 24 to both sides. So I have 13x equals 156, and then I'm going to divide by 13. So x actually equals 12. And then I have to plug it back in to find G. So G's angle is 5x. The measure of angle G is actually equal to 5x plus 26. I'm substituting x in. So I'm doing 5 times 12 plus 26. So 5 times 12 is 60 plus 26 is 86. So the measure of angle G, oh, I put a 6, G equals 86 degrees. The next problem is also a trapezoid. This has crisscrosses in the middle. So we're going to take our information, we're going to put it in our picture and see what we know. So it says W to Y is 15x minus 2. And I also know that XZ is 9x plus 10. Because this is an isosceles trapezoid, I know that because the sides are equal in length, that means that the diagonals are also equal in length. So I'm going to take them and I'm going to set them equal to each other because the diagonals are congruent. So 15x minus 2 equals 9x plus 10. And then I can add 2 to both sides. So 15x equals 9x plus 12. And then I can minus 9x to both sides. So minus 9x. So 6x equals 12. And then I can divide by 6 on both sides to make 2. So x equals 2. But I'm not done because I need to find WY. WY is right here. So I'm going to plug it back into WY. W to Y is equal to 15x minus 2. I have to take it and I'm going to plug it back in. So I'm doing 15 times 2 minus 2. 15 times 2 is 30. 30 minus 2 is 28. The next problem is also a trapezoid. It looks slightly different. Instead of having diagonals corner to corner, this is the mid segment of a trapezoid. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our mid segment, just like we did with a triangle. If you have that middle line, I'm going to multiply the middle by 2, and I'm going to set it equal to the bases added together, the top and the bottom. So I'm going to take the middle and multiply by 2. So 2 times 63 equals the top and the bottom added together. It does not matter. So that's the top plus the bottom. It doesn't matter which one goes first, as long as they're being added together. 2 times 63 is 126. If I combine like terms, 5x and 8x makes 13x. If I combine 7 and negative 11. 7 minus 11 is negative 4. And then I have a two-step equation. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. I really don't want to write in yellow. Let me switch back. 126 plus 4 is 130 equals 13x. And then I divide by 13. So x equals 10. But I'm not done because I need to find the length of A to B. A to B is the top. So I'm going to find AB by substituting it back in. 5x plus 7. So x is 10. So I'm doing 5 times 10 plus 7. 5 times 10 is 50. 50 plus 7 is 57. So AB is 57 in length. The last two problems are both the same shape. They are kites. So kites, the first kite says, in the kite below, find the length of A to C. So I need to find this distance going all the way across. So if I know that this piece is 10, this piece is 6, and this piece is 13, this is not a length bisector. It's not cutting the diagonal in half. You could tell that this is definitely shorter than this piece, but the side of the kite, because this kite is going straight into the sky, this is where the tail is to this. If we were like outside flying kites, this is where the tail is with the cute little bows. Okay, we got some bows on our kites. This is the top. It's going up. So the side angles are always congruent, and that means that this is an angle or a segment bisector. I'm sorry. So it's cutting it in half. So if I know that this portion is 10 in length, that means that this portion is also 10 in length. So if I go all the way across, 10 plus 10 is going to make 20. So AC is actually a length of 20. The last problem is also a kite. So this kite is going sideways. So this would be the top. This would be the bottom. This would be where my little tail is with my little bow ties. Okay. So there we go. We're flying a kite at the beach. So there it is. It's about to go down to the ground. But what I know about a kite is that the opposite angles on the sides, because it's going sideways, so the side angles are congruent. So if this is 124, this is 124 degrees. These are not congruent. This is 82. It's significantly wider. It's opening wider than this one. This is a cute little baby angle. Okay. So the whole thing technically adds to make 360. I know that because n minus 2 multiplied by 180 tells me a four-sided shape makes 360, because this would be 2 multiplied by 180, which makes 360 degrees in total. So all four-sided shapes are 360. So if I know that this is 124, this is 124, and this is 82, I'm just subtracting them from 360 to find this. You could write an equation. I could say 124 plus 124 plus 82 plus x equals 360, but you don't even need to do that. You just need to subtract them in a calculator. So if you subtract them, you should get 30 for your last angle. So x would be 30 degrees and y is technically 124 degrees.